You're doing great, Sonic! You mean, you're doing great, Sonics. Right. I may never get used to that. Ah!
Watch out!
Whoa! Did that emerald just scare off the monster? The Chaos Emerald's powers are miraculous, and we sure could use a miracle. We need that emerald! Sonic, your speed has been able to restore our friends. I bet it can restore the Chaos Emerald to full power, too. And I bet you double we're going to need all 7 emeralds.
You're on.
You guys have your work cut out for you.
An adventure's no fun if it's too easy.
Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Sonic X Shadow Generations as we enter... Well, would it really be fitting to call this the modern era of Sonic? Because, I mean, technically speaking, it was nearly 20 years ago now. And I can say that because, yeah, 2025 is when I am currently recording this, even though you're probably seeing this well into January, but waste, whatever. That's just how time travel works in our bizarro land. But anyway, we pretty much cross into Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 territory, with our representative being Crisis City. I would have said that I would have preferred Kingdom Valley to be our representative here, but hey, we did eventually get that in the Shadow portion, so, yeah, I don't really have much else to complain about. Not too terrible a level, although, as I think I might have alluded to a little bit earlier, it's, around about this point in the game where I feel that the Sonic Generations portion does lose a bit of steam. I mean, it does have a great level sandwich between, well, Crisis City and Planet Wisp with, you know, Spagonia, so that's something to look forward to later in the part, but... yeah, very platform heavy and, well, I mean, it's not that, Crisis City doesn't have its unique gimmicks here and there, it's just that, I don't know, it's just kind of, to be perfectly honest. I don't really know what I would have used, in exchange, you know, now that we do have, Kingdom Valley, and, speaking of which, as our bangin' tune... Classic Sonic gets to hear the unvarnished 2006 version of, well, the Kingdom Valley music, so, yeah, you do eventually get to hear it after all. But yeah, putting all that aside though, I don't know, maybe White Acropolis probably would have been my secondary pick, but I don't know, I mean, Crisis City was shown in a lot of advertisements for Sonic 2006, and, whatever. I don't really have much else to say at this stage, but I mean, yeah, it's just kind of alright, really. Now, I suppose to talk about the bigger issue, in terms of cutscenes that I've sort of been avoiding for, you know, the sake of getting all my other thoughts out in the game, is of course to talk about the game's story. I mentioned beforehand that Generations as a plot is very, sort of anemic. Again, it's not very character-focused unlike the Shadow variant, and, you know, this was very much written back during the era of, oh no, Sonic the Hedgehog stories being dark and in-depth evil. So yeah, we also have a bit of a cutscene redub with the original story being written by Ken Pontac and Warren Graff, with, you know, a lot of oversight by Sonic Team. This time around, however, well, I mean, a lot more hardcore fans of Sonic might notice the, you know, change in voice direction. Not necessarily with some of the other characters, because we haven't really heard them speak too much, but particularly with, you know, Colleen O'Shaughnessy voicing Tails here, where in the original game she was voiced by Kate Higgins. So, yeah, bit of a strange turn-up here, but... yeah, because of the fact that we also have some new voice actors replacing some of the older ones for, you know, a few certain characters, you'll really only get to hear it, like, one other point in the game because I cut out the thank you for releasing me segments. Yeah, we also have, technically, a few lines being rewritten here and there for, well, the game, really, which I only really bring up in the sense that, again, not much really changes apart from a few line differences and the fact that, Ian Flynn sneaks in a few sneaky things like, without the time stones? Or, you know, other bits and pieces here and there, and with some slightly more Brogdonagian terms utilising the dialogue, but yeah, would you believe that this actually, well, again, I think you can believe, because Sonic fans can be an incredibly fickle bunch, that they are once again complaining about some of the script changes for the Sonic Generations portion, because, honestly, I don't fucking know why, because, again, as I mentioned before, and what you're fucking seeing here, even with some of the cutscenes I'm cutting out, all you're really getting is just a very simple... evil monster thing, there's a mystery behind it, and it's trying to destroy time and space. Sonic, go stop it, and save the world. very simplistic storyline, and really not too much you're really losing out on with the redub in and of itself. And, you know, I suppose I would be a little bit more, you know, antsy about the idea of script changes, but to be completely honest, considering the fact that Generations plot is so thin on the ground, I just don't think it really matters that much. And I mean, really, out of all the things to complain about in Sonic, and yes, I know they have a bunch of petty little differences, like the green eyes and the hentai quills and the blah 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 and who gives a fuck. Again, are you really going to be losing sleep over Pontac and Graph lines like, fucking, like, oh, you remember that moment where Knuckles called Sonic fat? Perfect moment. Oh, literally fucking brilliant writing. Ugh. I don't know. Maybe it's just people being nitpicky, maybe I'm just strawmanning here, maybe it's Maybelline, who gives a fuck? Either way, it's not really that important. But yeah, all that aside though, yeah, because I'm willing to bet that part of the reason why there was at least a slight redub on Sega's end is primarily because of the fact that, again, as I brought up with the whole Colleen O'Shaughnessy Kate Higgins thing with Tails' voice actress, yeah, I suspect a lot of that does have to do with the fact that, between 2011 and, well, now in 2025, I'd say around about the point of Team Sonic Racing, actually, yeah, there were a few voice-acted changes. The one specifically was, I think, for, was obviously Tails, who I've already pointed out the difference with, you know, also Blaze, Silver, I want to say the Chaotix crew as well. But yeah, a lot of them got changes in voice actors, between now and between 2011 and, well, now, really, so yeah, I'm guessing that part of the reason why Sega had to do the redub was primarily because they would have had to have paid all the original actors for their roles in Generations, despite them not being on contract with Sega anymore. So I guess a rights issue was probably part of the reason that, you know, all of that ended up getting a little bit fucky here. I mean, again, I guess you could technically bring up as a counter-argument the Sonic Colors Ultimate, which did still have Kate Higgins, you know, doing her role as Tails, but that was one voice actor compared to, you know, the 5 or 6 that they really had just doing a bit of a minor role in Generations, really, so, honestly, I'm really, yeah, I mean, I can sort of see Sega's reasoning in that, if that is, the specific reason as to why, you know, the redub happened, but, yeah, I don't know. If it was any other game that had, like, a slightly more important story focus, I might have an issue with it, but again, it's Generations, its plot is pretty thin on the ground, and it's really just sort of there for, well, the gameplay, really. I mean, for the Shadow portion that does have more of an important story context, maybe there might be a bit more of an issue, but honestly, yeah, it's just sort of making... It's just sort of making, like, an anthill out of a shit mountain, really, so fuck it. In any case, though, we have the modern version of Crisis City that, it's kind of okay. I'm a bit more lukewarm in this level than I suppose I otherwise should be, and again, like, I mean, don't get it twisted, this is a much better fucking representation of the level compared to what we had in Sonic 06, which is, again, you've heard all the excuses before, buggy, horrible loading times, and everyone should hate it, yada yada. But I mean, really, it's, I don't know, something about the design just doesn't really sit right with me. It's okay, but it's just not really that, interesting. I suppose a bit of level context is also sort of what eliminates, some of the impact that Crisis City had, because I mean, in 06 itself, this was meant to be, you know, the apocalyptic future of what happens in that game's story, which I guess I might as well go into for the sake of padding out for time. In the sense that, yeah, this is basically, you know, the futuristic city of Soliana that was destroyed because of, Iblis. Basically, the other half to Mephiles, as we saw in the Shadow portion, who, yeah, basically, Iblis, the destructive power, Mephiles, you know, the apparent manipulator, even though he wasn't very fucking good at it, and yeah, I'll say my piece on that for a little bit later, but basically, City got destroyed, Princess Elise was murdered, and yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote. Apocalyptic future, don't really get any of that context in Generations itself, so it's really just sort of level the game, and yeah, I mean, apart from just sort of robbing the impact, all you really have in terms of the level dynamics that I feel does sort of border on being a little bit drab is that, well, yeah, it's a lot more platform heavy, a lot more 2D segments that just sort of feel like, oh, you use the stomp move that we have, because fuck it, we're using Unleashed's control scheme, and whatever. I mean, I don't blame them for trying to make use out of a mechanic, but trying to stomp down some of those, little fire geysers is just, really. I mean, I suppose, there is also the other added factor that, you know, there is also a lot more, platform-heavy focuses where you sort of need to take your time and sort of simmer down a little bit, which, I mean, is not terrible, but at the same time, it's also a case of, like, you threw off my groove. And yeah, it doesn't really tend to, you know, get on top of the whole alternative route, the aspect of this game. as much as it does with some of the other levels, really, so yeah, not really too much to see and explore with this destroyed city. Yeah, not terrible though, but yeah, to sort of mitigate some of the annoyance factor, we do have another bangin' tune, which is basically Westopolis from Shadow the Hedgehog, and I don't know, feels kind of fitting. And I mean, I mentioned this beforehand, but I mean, I still think it bears repeating that even in the original Sonic Generations portion of the game, I do still think that we should have had a Shadow the Hedgehog representative as a level, because I mean, again, it does still contain part of the Dreamcast era to conclude its storyline, so really, yeah, I don't know. I still feel like it should have gotten a representative. Maybe not necessarily Westopolis, but I don't know. Cryptic Castle, maybe? The Black Comet? I don't know. Lava Shelter, even? Oh, then again, I suppose Crisis City technically fulfills that niche, but, yeah, whatever. Not really too much to say. Insert that tornado's carrying a car. Whoopee. Now, though we're supposed to kind of go back onto the topic of voice acting, however, I do suspect that, potentially the redub thing might technically be an out, because you might be noticing that when it comes to Sega re-releasing Sonic games of the past, again, the ones they re-released so far is mainly just, you know, Colors Ultimate and, well, you know, Generations, obviously. So again, games that do technically still have the modern cast providing the voices, as in, you know, most of the ones that they more or less have had since 2011 and or, you know, with Team Sonic Racing or whatever when they changed them over a little bit. Which does make me wonder, is this part of the reason why we haven't technically seen any of the other Sonic games re-released from, you know, Sonic Adventure through, well, Unleashed as we're seeing right here? Because this was... Unleashed technically exists as part of the 4Kids era, and in turn, Sonic Adventure also exists, you know, during, well, the initial cast, really, so... I don't know, is there some sort of weird, like, we gotta pay the rights issues if we want to re-release a certain game, or if, you know, not necessarily a re-release, as, you know, what we saw during the, you know, 2010s when they did actually re-release games like, Sonic Adventure, Heroes, and, you know, whatever else, but, I don't know, is it just a case where they have to pay, like, voice actor things, or, like, some sort of legalese involved? Or is it just technically that they can only really use the characters they have on cast, which I suppose potentially might necessitate a redub for... At the very least, Sonic Unleashed. I'm not really too sure if that would apply to older games, such as, like, well, anything from basically the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, and, you know, before, really. Again, I'm not really too sure how a lot of this stuff works, and a lot of my basis for this is really done in a sort of, like, a Silent Hill 2 and 3 HD collection sort of thing, where, you know, there was a whole hubbub about that going on, about voice actor liaisons and all that kind of thing, so, yeah, I really don't know what to say in this aspect. I mean, it would go out of its way to sort of explain why we haven't seen, you know, Sonic Unleashed get a re-release, which, you know, in recent years is a fairly popular Sonic game, quality be damned, and, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to an Unleashed re-release, it's just that I also don't think it's as good of a game as some people say. But again, before people get on my ass for shit-talking Unleashed, I also don't think it's quite as bad as, you know, the initial reception when it first came out as, you know, like a direct sort of like, oh, it came out right after 06 Sonic game. I mean, I'll say this much for those of you not in the know, like, I mean, Sonic Unleashed actually scored worse than Sonic 2006 in terms of, like, the professional critical reception. Like, I mean, 06 at least got, like, a 6 out of 10 back in its heyday. Unleashed got a 4 out of 10. And that is certainly not what Unleashed deserved back then, and, yeah. You know, I mean, the bias against Sonic, it is, or at least was very much a real thing. Especially back when it was the in thing to say that the franchise was doomed and ruined forever. Back in the mid-2000s, but anyway, that's just a history of the Sonic long since gone by. Now, in any case, though, back to some bangin' tunes and onto more relevant topics. Race to Win from Sonic Rivals 2. Never did play this one, but tune's at least pretty decent. I mean, it does have Ted Poley and Tony Harness on it, so whatever, all good in the hood. And you're also going to be seeing the one opportunity, really, where I find a Chow. So yeah, basically sort of participating in the Lost Chow minigames. If you want to find out how to find them, or throughout the levels, again, if you go to the collection room, it actually does sort of specify where exactly you can find them. It says like a check inside the clock tower for, you know, classic Sonic or modern Sonic. So, again, you do have a means of finding them in the game itself. It's just a matter of, you know, being attentive and having a bit of a look-see to find out where they are. But yeah, I don't exactly know what you get for getting all of them, so... Yeah, I don't know if you get any sort of special reward. And I'm gonna suspect that, since again it is just another little addition for, you know, the Sonic X Shadow Generations version, it's probably just gonna be a trophy and a pat in the back for a job well done, which, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's something extra to do, I suppose, but, yeah, just do it at your own discretion, really. Although, that in and of itself, it does also make me wonder, are they potentially working on another Chao Garden kind of thing? Because they do have a bunch of different models of Chao, and, you know, they did also incorporate them into the opening cutscene of Sonic's birthday party right at the beginning of the game, so... I don't know, I'm curious, could we be seeing the return of the Chao Garden with all the different features and whatever else? Because, you know, I mean, if they're modeling them for this game, I suspect that all Sonic Team would really have to do for a future Chao Garden was just model a couple of animals, put them in a new A-Life simulation, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a new gameplay style. Well, new gameplay style, new gameplay system that they can have the rights to. Whatever, since apparently Sega don't own the A-Life system anymore, which is odd. Oh well. Anyway, now we get to ride the Eggman airship dirigible thing. Kinda strange. I always used to think that this was meant to be a reference to Flying Battery Zone, but I don't think that's the case. Oh well, go on Sonic, get out of here. Escape the R101 before its untimely demise. Oh wait, this is Italy, so it wasn't over France. History! It's fantastic. But anyway, now you have a little bit of research to do about disasters in airship history gone by that isn't the Hindenburg. Anyways, on to more relevant topics. Our banging tune of the day is Free from Sonic Free Riders. Quite possibly the only good thing to come out of that game, and speaking of this level, Rooftop Run. Yeah, you remember how Maria said that she and her family, back before her illness took hold, that, you know, they went on holidays to Spagonia? Well, this is it. This is where the young Maria and her well-to-do Robotnik family spent her holidays. Basically the Sonic equivalent of Italy. Yeah, that does also tie into what Sonic Unleashed was really intended to be. It was basically a globe-trotting adventure with Sonic trying to get a handle on his excess werewolf malpropisms. So yeah. By the way, interesting fact about Unleashed actually with the werehog itself. Yeah, initially Sonic was actually meant to be a Yeti rather than a werewolf. And even the term werehog in and of itself was actually more of a fan thing that just sort of got stuck with the character's name. So yeah, kind of odd. I don't know what their original name for it was. Maybe it was called the Unleashed transformation, but whatever. In keeping with the fact that, you know, this is very much based on the modern Sonic ilk, look at all these beautiful rooms modeled that, you know, you can only really see if you stop and smell the roses, but... In any case, though, yeah, out of all the modern stages in this portion of Sonic Generations, portion, extortion, yeah, probably my favourite out of the modern stages that we have so far. And it feels weird saying modern because, I mean, Sonic Unleashed, I hate to tell everybody, this is, I mean, it's getting up there. I mean, it's over 15 years old nowadays, so... yeah, man, this is... Yeah. I guess we could technically call it the boost era of Sonic, but, I mean, we're still technically using it now, so... I don't know what to say, but, I mean, this is very much around about the point when Sonic, you know, really did sort of invest in a lot of the... Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was the beginning, but it very much was when Sonic looked incredibly impressive, graphically. I mean, again, like, I mean, Generations and indeed Unleashed came out during the PlayStation 3 era, but... To be completely honest, I mean, apart from a few aspects of the lighting here and there with the Hedgehog Engine 2, this is using the Hedgehog Engine 1, and I mean, look at the fucking lighting and detail on the graphics, and to be honest, it still holds up fairly well today, so I mean, fucking good on Sonic Team, they're fucking great graphics and engine people, it's just that, shame that some of the games can be a bit shoddy. Yes, rather shoddy. Yes, they're going to lip them thothage, darling, as the games are a bit, paltry. But in any case, so, yeah, Rooftop Run, the modern stage, very similar to Unleashed, although I'd argue it's a little bit easier, because Unleashed did have its moments of sucker punch bullshit game design here and there, and, on the whole, though, pretty fun stage. So, look at all those Italian shops that were just passing by. Ugh. Oh well. Again, great level, a lot of different pathways to, you know, utilize and, bear witness to, and, yeah, overall a really fun stage. Yes, let's have a stop and explore and smell the roses as we destroy some robots created by Robotnik. Oh, but nobody calls him that anymore. Yeah. Apart from that, though, not really too much else to say about Rooftop Run. Fun stage, pretty great stuff to play through, and yeah, overall I'm pretty happy as a clam. If I could suggest any other stages that I probably would have picked for Sonic Unleashed in and of itself, I don't know, Cool Edge Day would have potentially been one of them. I suppose if they technically could have gotten it right, I guess maybe Adabat with Jungle Joyride is maybe another naturey stage potentially, but yeah, I think I probably would have stuck with my guns and gone for Cool Edge Day. It was basically would have been a nice stage, which we wouldn't really have seen a lot of in the... Yeah, I feel like Generations could have really given a bit of an adjustment to the design to make it, you know, a lot more fun than what it otherwise would have been in Sonic Unleashed, so yeah. Still pretty satisfied, so yeah, not really too much else to go through now. Except for just collecting rings and just sort of enjoying our run throughout this wonderful, wonderful land of Italy. And so on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on the Sonic X Shadow Generations commentary, well, we complete the modern era. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.